A very long discussion. In fact, it's centered on a lot of things, a lot of issues there. You have the international humanitarian law, you have the way the president was arrested and turned over to The Hague, and a lot of people are saying this exercise really was just a matter of a push and pull for public opinion. Now, might I ask you now, to which favor did this hearing deliver more? I mean, who won this round for you? Those who believe that the arrest was legal or illegal?
Oh, definitely. The perception was that the arrest was illegal. You could see that there were statements that did not really corroborate well with some of the videos that were shown. Like for instance, the ILG Secretary John Vicremulla saying in one interview that there was a group effort, and then in the Senate hearing he was actually denying it. And then there were also a lot of, I believe, lapses wherein the resource persons, especially those that were involved in the arrest, were actually finger pointing at one another. And I believe that this is a manifestation that there was some kind of miscue, that there was some sort of irregularity that actually took place. And I believe that Senator Cayetano was also brilliant when he pointed out some of the legal loopholes that were actually created during the arrest. I also understand that there were a lot of legal problems, particularly with the serving of the warrant, how the president, or rather the former president, was not able to hear or read the full text of the warrant, of all 15 pages of it, because of the swiftness of the turn of events during that day. And I fully understand that there should have been a proper legal recourse, and that is that a competent court should have intervened, and that they should have obtained the warrant from a legal court in the country.
Okay, and you said so yourself. There were a lot of opinions there, a lot of complexities, a lot of discussion about how the arrest proceeded, and in fact, it even went as far as, how much must the country cooperate now with the International Criminal Court, given, the fact that it had withdrawn from the Rome Statute. So, given all of these information, how would you sort it out for the public? Which were the important points now?
Well, the important point here, I believe, number one, is that we should understand that being a country where we have a fully functional legal system, I think the due process was definitely not really given to the former president, given the fact that there was the swiftness of motion, the swiftness of arrest that actually took place, and that there was this really the element of surrender. And while many will argue that this is not a question of sovereignty, I do believe that this is also a question of the legal jurisdiction, of a particular country, which is of course definitely associated with its sovereignty. And if, for instance, we were not able to accord this to a citizen and a former public official, as in the case of President Duterte, then I think it will also cast some doubts as to whether our countrymen will really have their full faith and trust in our legal system. Because if a former president, like a former President Rodrigo Duterte, was not accorded such treatment and such adherence, or at least observance of his basic human rights, then what more can ordinary citizens actually expect? And I think this may set a not so good precedence in terms of how the public will look into and will see the validity and the veracity of the legal system in the country.
Okay, and the public, of course, still processing all the information that they've heard since that day of the arrest. But undeniably, this is now an election issue, the arrest of the former president. How do you see this panning out in the next 2 months when people decide in the polls?
Well, definitely, we're actually we want to actually see it from the perspective of three forces. Of course, we have the Marcos force here. We have the direct opposition, which is of course the Dutertes, and then there is still the liberals. Okay, the Liberal Party is still there. But of course, we will see how this will unfold later on. Of course, right now what we're seeing is quite a number of mass mobilizations, prayer rallies, prayer vigils, because definitely might be this is something born out of the emotions that we're actually feeling because of the arrest. Not just because you're a Duterte supporter, but I believe because you're a Filipino to begin with. Okay. And then, of course, on the part of the administration, this is also something that they need to be very worried about, because definitely this may cast a some kind of effect on their chances, particularly on the candidacy of their slate. However, as I pointed out also in many interviews in the past, that their senatorial candidates are actually strong in their own right, because they have the machinery and the resources to mount a good national campaign. However, a political storm like what transpired may actually have an effect on this, particularly in the vote-rich areas of the Visayas.
Okay, have an effect, but do you think the effect would be significant?
We will see. We shall see later on. Of course, the narrative is always that there are always two sides to the coin. Okay, one of course is those that are supporting the war, and those projecting the former president as a martyr hero, and of course their narrative and their sentiment will fall under the idea that during the time of the former president, everything was okay. At least criminality was limited, and at least people were safe, as opposed to what we're seeing right now, that criminality and drug addiction is making a huge comeback. And then, of course, on the part of the administration, particularly those that are not in favor of the extrajudicial killings that transpired, of course, they're seeing this as a legal victory for them, at least at the onset. But then again, we'll see how this will unfold later on. But I believe that there will be definitely an effect on the chances of both camps, particularly of the administration slate as well as that of the Duterte slate.
All right. On that note, Professor Froilan Calilung, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this conversation. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.